Alright, here I go. I just came up with this stupid idea. Who knows if I'll pull through with it. I still have extra in Odyssey, Mary Skelter. Oh, and I've kind of been feeling like playing Minecraft again. Oh, and don't forget Blank, Ender Lilies, a whole bunch of stuff I said. I'm technically done with them, but I still want to record myself doing a 100% of them and stuff, you know? Labyrinth of Galeria. Did I already say that? Yet, here I am. Right. So, I'm going to 100% this game, and I'm gonna record it. And I'm gonna do it with Hyrule Rebalance and the Linkle mod. And a few others, but I won't explain all of them. Obviously, there will be no Dark Army Resurrection with all the randomness bullshit. It's going to be as close to vanilla as possible. I have already made a normal playthrough of the game, but for this 100% playthrough, I think it would be better if I start over from scratch. Many reasons. One is that I can always just, this will be in a separate playlist, which should hopefully make things easier for me to keep track of the stuff I've done. Like, I can just look at the videos I have on the 100% playlist for Breath of the Wild, and then I'll be all like, I can watch the video and I'll be like, oh, alright, so I've been in this place, I've gotten this Korok, etc., etc. Because, yeah. So I'll be playing in Master Mode. A crazy person might not consider Breath of the Wild completed until you've completed it twice in normal and Master Mode. To which I say, fuck you. Why would anyone do that? Why would you do that to yourself? Please do something about that mentality. I know there's already freaking speedruns of this game being 100%ed, so this isn't exactly new in the original. It's technically just those videos, but way, way, way slower. And with Linkle. Regardless, this is something I've kind of always wanted to do. And I'm kind of hoping by the time I'm finished with this playthrough, Tears of the Kingdom is working well and stably enough on emulator that I can finally make a let's play of it. And the modding scene would be just the tiniest bit greater. I don't know. Why the heck? Why the heck does the game not want to run for me? I still don't know. Hopefully by then more people know and play. Who knows, maybe there's already a frickin' Switch too by the time I get to do it. Another Zelda game I want to make a let's play of, Skyward Sword. I've always wanted to play the game, but I never got it. Maybe I'll just get it on emulator. My Wii doesn't have a capture card and it isn't exactly in the best condition anyway, and if I want to make a let's play like I did with Punch-Out and Super Paper Mario, it would have to be on emulator. Oh yeah, the Paper Mario series. There's a remake of Thousand Year Door now, and I still haven't played Thousand Year Door and the first Paper Mario game. This is what I've decided I wanted to do with my life, okay? The limited time I do have, because with God, I don't know how to do them, how to spend my life. I won't be skipping any cutscenes, so I guess you could treat this as if it is just another normal playthrough. I mean, this wasn't exactly be the first time I've replayed a game. Look at Underlilies, which, again, I said I'd 100% but never had. I'm just not a completionist. And I don't know, fat chance I'm completing it. Oh, whoops, I forgot to turn off the naked. It's alright, you guys won't be seeing it for long. I promise. I hope. Don't expect riveting commentary. In fact, it will stop pretty much right away. I'm watching videos while doing this bullshit. Yes, I promise this will be mostly vanilla, apart from Hyrule Rebalance being a thing. If I will add other stuff, it will mostly be cosmetic probably, hopefully. But preferably, I don't add any new stuff. Or preferably, I add clothes for Link over here. There is a Dong Out Link mod already for Tears of the Kingdom, but it's weird that there's none for Breath of the Wild. Maybe I should switch to English. I don't know. Oh well. It's not like it has Matt Mercer here, so I don't really care what language I'm playing in. Oh shit, this is still so laggy. It's even worse in Tears of the Kingdom when it happens there. I like this so much more. You actually get to see stuff in this opening panorama. In Tears of the Kingdom, it's just clouds. And then maybe a dragon as a few pixels. Because the sky is mostly barren. And the few stuff that are there, just a lot of copy-pasted stuff. Super lame. props, durabilities are working. I've got basically infinite inventory once again. I got 3 pages of meals. It's all vanilla mostly. Again, with Hyrule rebalance changes. But the bugs being bigger, which I never knew was a problem until this mod pack. Until Hyrule rebalance changed their size. It made me realize just how annoying it is to try to find and pick up bugs. Might as well try to make things a little fun. I'll go see with these bladed rhino beetles. I'll go see if I can kill the Lionel before leaving the plateau. I'll obviously have to get the glider first. That'll be necessary for the strategy I plan on using against the bastard. Aha! Got all 4. Yeah, not you usually are way more patient than this. Literally right next to your dad? I never answered it a secret before, actually. Okay. Lame. Hey there, folks. Dang it. I forgot about the sucker punches. They don't do that anymore in Tears of the Kingdom. And it's not just because there's no Master Lord anymore. Black-tiered enemies and above were capable of doing sucker punches to you. As long as they were using spears. I guess they understood that was a shit mechanic. Why does a blue Boko only deal 1 heart of damage? That was way too easy. Nothing worth touching yet. Might Hyrule rebalance feel the need to randomize the barrels and stuff like that? I feel like it makes them way too valuable. I mean, they weren't valuable in the original, but here they're way too valuable considering they can sometimes drop frickin' royal bows. It kinda feels cheating to go for them, knowing the potential you can get from them. So sad they removed Sneak Strike chaining. A lot of glitches they removed. Well, you can still technically Sneak Strike chain, but it costs you puff shrooms now. They added a new variable or something called Sneak Strike. Enemy already Sneak Strike or something. So once an enemy's already been Sneak Strike, you can't just Sneak Strike them again. And it only gets reset when you puff shroom them, or after a certain amount of time has passed away from combat. I don't know, Sneak Strike chaining is such a cartoony way, is such a cartoony exploit. I really like it. It's like those cartoons where they're like, huh? 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 And then the guy hiding it is just always behind so they can never find it. Their assailant. Usually there's a slime inside there. Here they are. Oh sure, they split even in Hyrule Bounds. It wasn't just from Dark Army Resurrection.
That smoke, he's even stunting on Zuko for being angsty. Man, Iroh's in rare form today. Also, another vague hint at the whole Suki-Zuko thing. Like, this wouldn't be anything on its own, but with the other evidence as well. I'm no shipper, like I said, but come on, they're hinting at something. So Zuko and his family take off in the submarine, and Iroh takes his place re-entering the capital, doing his best Zuko wave impression.
What are you doing?
So the submarine meets back up with the other huge warriors, and all men, huge warrior of Komodo rhino guns. That's pretty sweet. So they're taking a heavily guarded convoy rural part of the country to get that. Main highly information along the giant zigzag road to make a clear of the city. The heavily fortified one will be fight its way up there to save lifetime. According to K-Lo, this is one of the Zuko's first passes, which doesn't seem to make sense since it's the most heavily guarded road in the country. Makes sense K-Lo is a liar. Yeah, no, I got that flag too. We seem to have had that talk earlier and then right this second. Kylie's like, well, if you want to talk about lying, because I'm he's so big, this guy, and May, and me, honestly, you know, like, give it a rest. He's like, one step away from a terrorist. Despite me thinking K-Lo was lying, and that does happen. So depending on the new Ozai Society or whatever from the caravan, the pirates will practically outmatch those up to the Kyoshi Warriors and Iroh take them. But the Kyoshi Warriors did it too fast, and Iroh doesn't get a piece. Man, don't taunt me with Iroh action and then not give it to me. This attack wasn't the only one going on, apparently, as they see Suki's distressed player in the distance. And oh god, they've got tree benders. Alright, they don't, but this is a very impressive trap the insurgent setup. Like, they must have had ample time to set this up, which means someone knew about this secondary plan to get Zuko into the capital, which means someone very close to him betrayed him and leaked the plan. Or, I guess that messenger hawk got intercepted and then sent on its way anyway to Zuko to not let him know it was intercepted. But I side on the former. I bet it was fucking T. I never trusted her. Not from the start, I didn't trust her. So the new Ozai Society stopped the convoy with force, and I'm not kidding here, their first plan was to simply ask Zuko to step down from the throne. Okay, well maybe K-Lo over here with his dumbass hair sticking out isn't as small of a step away from terrorists as I thought. Oh wait, no, never mind. They're attacking the head of state. Oh, here we go. They're bad. They're bad after all, guys. So Suki and Zuko take a kick at the match. Really cool art. I like the shot of Suki a lot. Look at those bangs. Of course, the bad guys are no match for Spider-Woman Suki and fully realize that I have a mom now Zuko, but it turns out there's like a lot of them. And they have tech new to Avatar. These throwing tripwire things that wrap around people to fascinate them. I don't know what to call them, genuinely. Like, I so don't know what to call them. I don't even know what to Google to look up what to call them. They're throwing things you can't move any more wires, except they don't throw them. They fire them out of cannons. The cannony, you can't move any more wires. Aw, man. Anyway, I'm sure you'll notice that Suki has been hit by one of them in this panel since I've been holding on and zooming in for so long. And on the next panel, Zuko too was like, shot, so we lose, it turns out, and Upano over here is just responsible, like, I'm gonna burn this carrot, and whoever decided it, so be it, I guess, I'm lucky for them. I'm not just gonna spin on that carrot. Zuko's like, don't do that, and even Kalo was like, yes, I agree, don't do that. Here's what's going on, go kick their ass. Zuko's like, no doubt, and Kalo's even throwing punches for his side too now, but Upano seems unsurprised at this trip. Kalo tries to explain to Zuko that they have a mutual friend, and Zuko's like,
said side hobbling.
Surely these guys were only hitting their clothes and sent flying into nearby trees or something. They're fine. And now it's really Iroh time, baby. Time to lay down the law. May gets her hands on Kalo when he tries to tell her that he was fed bad info because they knew he was going to heel turn them. And maybe they did, but that still doesn't explain how they knew who the actual characters of VIPs in it was going to be. And why Kalo personally is here and not at the other attendants. Zuko says, chill, I like this guy. And May's like, you're an idiot then. A spear goes flying through the carriage's window. That ain't good. There were 3 non-fire throwing or cheap blocking people in there. Hopefully they put all those points into spear dodges. It turns out they're good, but now Zuko is cornered. May heard her dad's voice idiots, but yes, actually do attack the other guy. And somehow these very simple commands completely baffle the new Ozai moves. Wow, what an intimidating enemy force. Halo tries to level with May, saying, alright man, I'm sorry for the whole trying to kill the Fire Lord thing and to overthrow the government thing, and to lie to you constantly and consistently to swear one thing, but I really do actually like you. And like, sorry man, you got game. Better luck next time, is what I'm saying, but this time it will very likely go a different direction. But Halo gets knocked off this thing and injured, which is a classic conversation ender that also calls for May asking if he's alright, which means this interaction ended on a weird concerned note from May, leaving the door open to who knows what. Anyway, May and her dad are gonna talk, maybe, but not before Zuko shows these two Ozai goons there's levels of this shit. He gets fire blasted by all three of them, and if I'm reading the art correctly, repurposes all that fire into a mostly orange cyclone that has hints of the rainbow fire he saw when meeting Random Shaw. Now, obviously, this is like, oh, Zuko can make fire all rainbowy? What the hell? Yeah, I agree, what the hell? Did he need to do this? Was he afraid to break this out of school? But also interesting is Zuko bending someone else's fire, which is an insanely rare skill. Only ever shown off in the show when kids get in the boiling. And I guess most people did that one time too, while he was fired, but like many things, that Avatar stuff. On the fire to these guys, spinning me like, I'm the fucking greatest. Did you just see that? That was insane. You better all go away or you will all be receiving an equal piece of this. As he stands above everyone with an explosive background, he still got it, maybe even more than ever, even though he's a politician now. Maybe he does take after Dad. May's dad tries to explain himself. He says that Zuko only cares about appeasing the Avatar and the other nations. Look at what happened to Yu Dao. Those people don't even have any power over their own lives anymore. Which, I mean, I don't know if that's true. They're just getting some new government. It's not like their culture is being suppressed or anything. But Mukano goes on to say, with Zuko's weakness sitting on the throne, the Fire Nation will never have security. Which at least frames his weirdo movement in a more understandable light. Like, they don't want to overthrow Zuko just because they're like, yeah, go Ozai, screw the other nations, burn it down. They want their homeland to have strong leadership, their families to be protected, and they see this as the only means to achieve that. Which would make sense. Mukano and his men grew up under the rule of Azula and then Ozai. They're probably very used to the country being run in a very certain way. Maybe like, if he's so weak, how come he just stunted on your entire attack force so hard they ran away or are just willfully being arrested? Her dad says, no, that's my point, man. Zuko will push his own people around, but it's the rest of the world that's bowing down. And then he pulls the card. He even pushed you, his only real connection to the Fire Nation, away. And if you think I'm all the way wrong on this, then just arrest him. Make like, damn, you had to pull the ex-boyfriend right off. Make him come with the movie Halo, but tells him that her dad got away with me, and she let her go. Which opens up an interesting possible plot for May, if she thinks her dad had a point there, or at least half a point. Halo tries to explain that they had a figure the whole time, and May says that she believes it, which opens up probably a for real romantic interest for May, which, I don't know, I just don't think a relationship with the Foundation that you both trying to double mind game each other over the overthrowing of the government is gonna last. I mean, I've never tried it, maybe it's a really great connection. So after that whole mess, we finally arrive at Catholic. She looks at thanks to the squad and asks if she knows where May's living these days. She says she does, and Zuko wants to come visit, and just let her know. Now, okay, this goes against the whole stupid Zuko thing I was commenting on, but you know, with the slow burn, Zuki's still with Sokka. This is a get-together in your mid-20s kind of vibe, I'm telling. So the half-royal family arrives, and he's Zuko Zuzu, real casual type dude, and both Zuko are like, whoa, what the hell? Then Zuko's like, no one calls me Zuzu. He does the whole fire tornado thing.
What the?
Not looking good for Ki. Actually, though, they're just like, that's weird. And the reader should think that too, as Ki had some strange unknown encounter with Azula in the past few weeks that no one knows about? Or is it just a random coincidental nickname she came up with? Versus having trouble stepping foot on the premises here. She's really thinking about her horrible life here and what it represents. And she's a theater kid / actor. She's a little dramatic. Okay, I'm kidding. Don't yell at me. Yes, this reaction is very understandable, but there's so many negative emotions and experiences tied up with this place. Yes. You've already seen the comments about that line. That one went over well. Oh, Iroh's here too. Nice. He says Ursa will come around. It's been a tough time for him. But also, you're troubled about something else, I bet. Zuko's like, yeah, those guys that tried to kill me like 2 hours ago, that's still kind of bothering me. Say, Uncle, can you go to that Yu Dao thing for me so I can stay here and deal with this? Iroh's like, yeah. Then we get this really crazy two-page spread of Ursa walking down the hall in the palace, talking to herself, repeating that they're all safe, only for her to come to the foot of the giant Ozai mural that we talked about earlier. And it's still filled with this deep, horrible dread. Classic transition shot of something being in one panel and then the same thing being in the next. This time it's Ozai's face. We rejoin Ukano, who was also rejoined by the scary cloak ghost from the start, and they're probably talking like, Ukano, Ukano, you failed to redeem yourself. Well, I'll cut all the plot here for you. Basically, they say, you blew it. We're pissed. You got a month. If you don't overthrow the government by then ooh, you're gonna get it. Speaking of 1 month, it's 1 month later now, meaning the Yudao inauguration has happened, and a few days it took for the rip to happen too, so we're back in the present. Also, we keep having these big leaps in time. Sokka's gonna be like 25 by the end of the comics. May and Kalo are out on a date, like a proper one, where the book being real, unless that is, I don't know, Kalo was actually secretly called the face dealer or something, and this is some unhinged triple mind game. He tries to make me doubt the code theory immediately, though, by talking about his tragic backstory. There's always a fucking tragic backstory. Dead parents wanted to belong somewhere, new low side society seemed good, May seemed better, and May agrees. And whoa, hold on, May suddenly hears her mom scream, and all the freaking ghost people are on the roof. That'll do it. May jumps up and confronts them, and turns out they're here to abduct her little brother. Man, that kid has a bad track record for this. Unlike last time, though, May seems very invested in her little brother's safety, but they disappear in a puff of smoke. This seems like the reckoning those ghosts promised Okano a month ago, as he seemingly still hasn't pulled off the simple task of killing the king. So we're talking to the guys about what just happened, and May tells them they look just like the Kamuri Kage, and the Kamuri Kage are just some bullshit fairy tale from May's hometown, meant to scare kids into being good, just like the boogeyman or taxes. May's mom's like, those
Or
are
taxes.
too bad, I guess. May's mom should have had a kid while the Kamuri Kage were thinking about. Unlucky for you. Zuko busts in and he's like, I'm here to help, much to the displeasure of what's his name over here. Halo, Zuko heard that they're dealing with spirits, and he says, alright, I'm calling in the big guy. The opening to Smoke and Shadow. Not bad. Pretty good, I might even venture to say. It's a pretty tight little story so far. What with the attempted overthrowing of Zuko, and we get a lot of that, which I'm thankful for. I'm glad that this story didn't feel the need to have to cut away to the Aang Gang here and there. It was very contained, and that helped a lot. But at the same time, it still has time to develop some very interesting beats. T.E. not liking Ursa. T.E. calling Zuko Zeus, and Ursa having trouble going back to the capital. May's failing into big spotlight, which I imagine no one was expecting. Also, Kalo is alright, I guess. I don't really care about him at all at this point. He seems pretty bland.
I said I wouldn't skip any cutscenes.
Okano sort of saves the conflict at the end by explaining himself more clearly to May and how he sees the situation. If it wasn't for that conversation, the conflict here could have really bad Ozai people think Ozai is good. Defeat the bad Ozai people, which would have felt not as well thought out as the conflicts that these folks usually are. The Kamuri Kage are interesting. I do know the full story on them. I remember it. But the way they're handled in this one issue is appropriately brief and heavy. Maybe for another interesting point in the book. They're mysterious and they're handled mysteriously. Good. From a character perspective, our big players kind of take a backseat. The only ones really around are Zuko and Iroh, and maybe to a lesser extent Suki. But Iroh's been in the backseat since the Crossroads of Destiny, basically, so no big shift there. Getting less of our main characters is good and bad. Zuko still gets his moments to shine, and even though the story is mostly about overthrowing him, it's not really his story. It's May's, and I know May isn't his.
あなたは100年の間眠っていたのです。この怪物が本当の力を取り戻した時、
I kinda want to try rushing
終わりを迎
the
えてし
castle
まう。
when I get out of the plateau. It's something I've never done, but I've always wanted to. Another thing I've never done, but I've always wanted to do.
だから手遅れになってしまう前に早く早く。
Fan favorite out there. She's not one of my favorites either. But for basically leading this comic, I think it turned out pretty good. So yeah, as far as these comics go, this issue goes squarely into the good enough for me territory. Patreon shoutouts. If you want to see 2 brand new videos from me, you can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Like as always, it's in the description below the video. Smoking Shadow Part 1 was pretty solid, but upon further thought, I think this issue sort of has a lot to do with this book is going to turn out any good. While the first set up some interesting points, I'm wary about where they could end up going. Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. The gang to start things off and leading a meditation outing session. That would be better. And we even see Iroh in the background with his teapot, meaning that we're at the Jasmine Dragon and Bossing Say. I guess Iroh lets the air acolytes gather here, and that's nice considering what Iroh's grandfather did to that culture. It's cool to see Iroh making an effort to foster its regrowth. Katara and Sokka got all saddled up, and they're planning to head back to the South Pole for a visit. The first time they've been back there since episode 2. Seems like even though they ended on a friendly note, nothing did get through to Katara about the South Pole struggle. But hold on, there's a messenger hawk here from the Fire Nation. It's from Zuko, asking for Aang's help. Aang simply says he needs me here. And then there's this little translation blurb down here explaining what the note actually says. What is this, one of my videos on non-Avatar stuff? Unfortunately for the team's plans, Aang feels honored-bound to go help Zuko. And honestly, a really surprising twist here, Katara and Sokka aren't gonna go with. They're gonna still go to the South Pole. They're dad's expecting them. And honestly, they're not really much help when it comes to spirit world stuff anyway. This will be the first proper planned departure from each other since the end of season 2, which, you know, you kind of just figured this core trio is so tight-knit, they're just going to go everywhere together from now on. But we're shaking it up a bit, which I like. So we're keeping things going. Literally the next page, Aang is already meeting up with Zuko and the squad in the Fire Nation. Zuko, don't. You're not allowed to say buddy. It's weird, man. Zuko reintroduces Aang to May. They've run a couple of dust-ups in the show. I don't think May's name was ever exchanged, but they probably got properly introduced at Zuko's coronation, I would imagine. Aang assumes that this means May and Zuko are back together, but meet Kalo, May's boyfriend. Oh, that sucks. That's a rough one, Aang. Some might even say that's rough. Aang is also introduced to Tom, May leading the investigation on the kidnapping. May goes on to say that Tom was kidnapped last night by the Khmer Kage. Wait, last night? So Zuko came to help at the end of the last comic in the morning, sent a messenger hop all the way to Ba Sing Se, and then Aang flew on Appa all the way here from Ba Sing Se? What? Right out. How fast are messenger hops? Did you strap a warp drive to Appa? If I'm to believe this, the flight from Ba Sing Se to the Fire Nation capital is a couple hours at most, meaning that if the gang didn't stop so much in season 1, they probably could have made it to the North Pole in like a day. Aang says this in the episode The Waterbending
I will not be leaving the Great Plateau once I get all shrines.
But reading this, how is that possible?
Beating all shrines is a requisite for doing something necessary for 100%.
3 days ago or something, rather than last night. Upano fights his way into the meeting room, yelling, and immediately scolds May, telling her that this is all her fault. May, of course, if you want to be a real
holy shit, there's no...
super roundabout way, is the reason her parents split up. But
there's no staff host that show up.
That is if you're not being a dick about it and you're not going around roundabouts. Upano insists Tom would have been safe with him, and of course Tom being captured all comes back to Upano not being able to overthrow Zuko. So him yelling at May here that it's her fault is more projecting on his end. Also, if you're confused as to how Upano is even here, it was never revealed it was him in the fight last issue. Only May figured it out, and she let him go, and really never told Zuko or anyone else that it was in fact their father that led that attack.
She literally said in a page. Well, she says later in a page, I don't actually remember too well.
Wisely calls him boy here, rather than by his name, since no one in the room knows they should know each other except May. But Upano isn't done. He's really on one today. He turns his iron to Zuko next, saying that he needs to grow his wise, linking the weakness of Zuko's leadership on why the spirit world is, quote, acting up. Actually, if you don't know anything about the spirit world, that's not what Upano goes on to demand a curfew for the capital city and the taxing of a team to take the spirits down. Which is interesting. One of Upano's points last chapter was that the people of Yu Dao don't have control over their own lives anymore, and that Zuko polices his own people too much. But now he's out here demanding curfews. His end is ultimately the safety of the people of Fire Nation. But here he does seem to contradict himself on the point I just brought up. Once again, this is like the Ozai talk, where Ozai contradicts himself in the promise. I still don't know if this is just the character being naturally flawed, or if it's spotty writing. Aang against the plan, saying that curfew will just make people more scared. And what do you mean that's happening? Then Aang says you can't fight fear with normal bending. What do you mean normal bending? Remember that time you dummy punchy hog with some air bending? That seemed to work just fine. What are you talking about? Anyway, Aang says let's put our heads on straight here and figure out what's actually going on, and then act. And if we need to go Defcon 1, we can still do that later. Zuko agrees with that and takes Upano out. But Upano yells that Zuko is an imposter on his way out. And Zuko's like, wait, hold up, I recognize that voice. May, was your dad trying to kill me a couple weeks ago? And May says, I don't think so. Wow, May, now who's keeping secrets? Alright, they're not in a relationship, so it's a little different than what Zuko was. But still, this is a big deal to be lying about. Well, time to get down to business. Zuko says he has an idea about where to find out more about the Khmer Kage, so he and Aang take off. May and Kalo have a chat about why May is lying with him. And May says that her dad was right. Tom probably would have been safe. And if she rats him out now, he won't be able to look after Tom from prison after this is all sorted out. This seems strange to me. Last issue May seemed very discerning, very analytical, and above all else, very critical of her father. But now she has one chat with him where he said Zuko went your way, and now she's just mentally crushed. I feel like May from last chapter would agree with me. Oh, start to get forever. Matter of
the weapons here get scaled to be way better in the late game, but I think it's good to just get them right now.
This is somewhat of a cool play from Upano if he's doing what I think he's doing, actually. Coming in, ranting and raving about how Zuko's weak leadership is the reason this is happening. He knows the real reason. He's trying to undermine Zuko with this weird spirit psyop from the inside out. Ki overhears Upano ranting and asks what it's about. Some probable foreshadowing here, and Ki asking this and Upano saying that this is only the beginning. beginning. Oh, also, Kiki still really doesn't like Ursa. That didn't get solved off panel. Don't worry about that. Zuko's brought them to this weird temple place that's over the Dragon Mode Catacombs. We saw this place back in the episode The Avatar and the Fire Lord. Oh man, I really hope we get to go into the Dragon Mode Catacombs. So I get to keep saying the Dragon Mode Catacombs. So we walk in and oh shit, it's Shayu. Long time no see. Refresher here. Shayu was the fire sage that helped Aang and Roku's temple all the way back in season 1. Guess he must have got let out of prison after the war. That's nice. He's even been upgraded to Great Sage. I'm sure that's a title thing, unless Zuko is commenting that Shayu is great at being a sage. Anyway, we are going to the Dragon Mode Catacombs, it turns out. And oh, really nice art. God, I love the Dragon Mode Catacombs. So cool. Hell yeah. So now, surprisingly, we're with the constable from earlier, the one that escorted Ukano out of the meeting. The one that heard Ukano raving about how Tom Tom was only the beginning, and oh god, he was right, the constable's son is being abducted. So the parents try to fight back, but are countered by a very human-looking hand the spirit seems to have. Interesting. It seems the Kamuri Kage may not be spirits after all, but the smoke builds in the room, and when it clears, the Kamuri Kage are gone all the same. The constable's son gone with them. Zuko explains to the Scooby Gang here that there's a mural down here in the Dragon Mode Catacombs that shows a bunch of Fire Nation myths and legends. But a lot of the older stuff seems to be sealed behind this bending door. Oh, cool. You guys know how I love those. Turns out Sozin trying to erase a lot of the Fire Nation's ancient identity to install the new one that he was trying to explore in his own lifetime. Aang explains the Fire Blast the Dragons and it'll open up concept to Zuko, even though Zuko should be well aware of this concept since he attempted it that one time. I guess it didn't work though. Meanwhile, Ty Lee and Suki are gossiping while on patrol about reports of more dark spirit attacks, and Ursa overhears them and is like, oh god, oh fuck. She's like, Jesus Christ, where's the kid? And Nora's like, wow. But Ursa quickly finds her sleeping in the other room, safe and sound. The bending door isn't working though. Weird. Maybe Zuko's just not good at it. They're also not shooting all four at once, which is weird. Halo takes a look though, and it turns out the locking mechanism is actually the dragon's nose. And with 4 maids throwing knives and a little help lining them up, and a little side-eye from Zuko, and Bob's your uncle. Easy. Everyone's pretty stoked on Halo right now, except Zuko. He's over here like, should've let me fire blast him again. I bet I would've got it. Constable Sung goes to meet Ukano and tells him he was right, and it turns out that it wasn't just some stupid mistake. There's been reports of a ton of kidnapping. Shit. Sung tried to find Zuko for help, but couldn't since he's at the Dragon Mode Catacombs. So he says Ukano was right, we need to act. And Ukano says, oh yeah, it's all coming together. We get some low detail looks at some other Fire Lord worlds here, which I like a lot. This one's interesting because it's very clearly not chosen, but it has the comet in his mural, implying that this Fire Lord also used the comet's power to accomplish maybe something great, maybe something horrible. Maybe even Sozin got the idea for using the comet from this guy. Also, this one over here is cool because this guy looks like a puppet. Zuko says he doesn't recognize any of them because all the history books in the schooling system started Sozin. Wow, that seems like something as the Fire Lord you should look into correcting Zuko. I don't know, just thinking out loud here. They ponder this drawing of who Zuko thinks is the first Fire Lord, but no time for that. We found some drawings of Kamuri Kage too. They find the scroll for the story and ask Aang for a light, but Zuko steps in for provided. Oh, Zuko, I don't know, bro. That's kind of gutsy. Also, it's cleverly drawn to not show May's full expression here, so hard to tell how she took the gesture. Anyway, the story goes. Long ago, in a distant land, I am the shape-shifting master. Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong script. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Before the Fire Nation was founded, the islands that make up the Fire Nation fought amongst each other, battling for territory. The greatest warlord of all was named Kaz, and every year he demanded a food tribute from all the villages under his rule. One year, a village refused, so as a show of power and to teach them a lesson, he kidnapped all the village's children. They were never seen again, and the mothers all died too. It says the mothers all died in sadness, but like, what does that mean? What's the medical diagnosis for that? I was like, Jesus, where was I during all this? Like past Avatar beat. Come on. Zuko posits that maybe this took place before the first Avatar, which is an interesting thought. After the mother's deaths, dark, vengeful spirits rose in their place and took the kidnapping children from Kaz's and
I tried to read Kennedy's tale on this to get here, but...
literally haunted, like, actually. And I assume he also, open quotes, died in sadness. Ain't that Kaz? Something that's a weird twist thing, though, and Aang thinks May summoned it by reading the scroll. Oh, man, if he was dead all over again, that's not good. Zuko tries to stop Aang from running off the ball again, having already seen Evil Dead, but Aang and his boyish charm, there he goes. Sung and Ukano were out policing the citizens of the capital. I guess they enforced this curfew anyway, since Zuko isn't around at the moment. They've even hired a bunch of goons to help them out. They're calling it the Safe Nation Society. It's got a better ring than the Spirits Friendship Festival, at least. The people of the city don't even seem to believe in this dark spirit nonsense. That is, until a woman shouts out from a window that her kid is being abducted. Okay, hard to deny that one. Whoa, look at this shot. Who here killed them? the art for this panel. This is like the best panel I think I've seen in these comics. This looks really good. Back with the gang, Aang's followed this weird wisp to this other dragon statue. Halo and May flirting all the while, much to Zuko's displeasure. Another classic dragon nostril lock trick, courtesy of your buddy Halo, and we're in to wherever we're going, I guess. May sees a slightly darker and danker tunnel, and for some reason feels like going down there is totally out of the question. Okay, weird cutoff point, don't really get that, but Aang's down and asks Halo to come along to unlock any more dragon noses they might come across. Anything to get May and Zuko alone together for a moment. Comic, I get it. It starts off awkwardly, and then Zuko mentions the casual fact that he misses May, and then awkward rapidly changes into a shouting match. May doesn't see Zuko and her ever getting back together, not even close. But Zuko asks some real insecure shit, like, do you feel the same way about him as you felt about me? Oh, come on, Zuko, have some decorum here, Jesus. Bad look. May says, shut up, Zuko. My heart twice, so no, I don't like him the same way. He likes me way better, I bet, and that's how I like it. I ain't getting hurt with that again. Back then, he stumbled upon an actual for real Kamuri Kage spirit, and they're much more spirity than the ones we've been seeing. The ghosts explained that they haunted the warlords of the Fire Islands until the first ever Fire Lord defeated those warlords and united the nation. Since then, the Kamuri Kage haven't haunted anyone. Acts like, then why are you? No. We haven't done it since then, and we don't fuck around over here in the physical world anymore. Not at all. Excellent. So we take off back to the capital, and everyone's brainstorming on the fact that the spirits aren't the Kamuri Kage. Could they be other similar-looking spirits? May wonders if they're even spirits at all. But that too gets cut short as we hear the police force below chanting about the strength and safety of the nation. I mean, I can see where they're coming from, I guess. I too might also be in a ravenous chanting group if there were ghosts kidnapping kids in my town. Zuko gets the story from Sung and Ukano, and man, Ukano got this real smug look on his face. Ooh, man, that kind of look would bug me. But actually, how did you get these big muscly goons to assemble this late at night? Wait, that's a good point, actually. Hey, what did I think of that? Oh, I guess May is annoyed with everyone. Lays it on pretty thick that she could just oust her dad here pretty easy. But the point is still made. Ukano even successfully thwarted a spirit kidnapping a few minutes ago, but Aang tells them they're probably not spirits. Zuko's like, what the hell? None of this was done by my order. I'm the damn Fire Lord over here. Possible Sung, you're suspended. I can't believe you pulled this shit out here. And there's this panel of the citizens noticing the movement between them, leading into, oh, here we go, this asshole again, thinking Zuko's over-policing his people. Ukano continues to prattle on about the safety of the nation and Zuko's inactions. This is a really weird line that this guy's on. Like, he personally feels so guilty about being kind of the one that caused this that he's acting out like this. But, like, at the end of the day, isn't super his fault? Like, some cursed-ass ghost lady showed up and gave him an impossible task. Is it his fault that he didn't complete an impossible task? Is he acting out like this because he actually wants to act against these terrible spirits? I guess it makes sense since they took his kid, he'd be angry, and I guess he always wanted to undermine Zuko. It's just the spirits gave him a timeline to do it. So he wants to undermine Zuko, but now he's also against the Kamuri Kage too. Okay, this still makes sense. I just wish he had more to say or do, maybe. I don't know, he's feeling pretty one-note at the moment. Having sung like that was hard to put under, mostly pretty appropriate to me. Zuko came and let people run his nation out from under him. The lady from earlier who shouted about her kid being stolen shows up, kid in hand, and says, well, hold on, the Safety Dance Nation crew, or whatever they're called, didn't save my kid. Like, they're not all that. Even May is over here complaining about how Zuko's suspended son. What do you mean? I know you're mad at the guy. Just fun. She's been through a lot too, though, with her little brother being kidnapped. I'm just saying, Zuko can't get a win out here. May misses Kalo goodnight, but immediately goes and looks at a picture she has of her and Zuko. Next we hear Ki yell for Zuko. At least she still likes him. He's got that going for him. Ki asks Zuko if she can sleep somewhere else, anywhere else, since Ursa's here. So Zuko says, yeah, sure, I can do that. I'm the king out here. I can do whatever I want. No one seems to remember that. He gets some bonding time in with Ki as she asks about what he did for the day, and he says, nothing. Don't worry about it. Go to bed. But also, Zuko's really not thinking here. There's been a series of events where children have been taken from their beds. Shouldn't you have probably left her with Ursa? Seems to me Zuko would have thought of that. Speaking of sleeping children, we join Tom waking up some kid in a room of other children, the kidnapped children. Oh man, so we get to find out where they went, I guess. Turns out this is Ukano's underground compound, and Ukano knows that all the kids are here. Okay, so with this new lens of the situation, that means Ukano is staging the kidnapping himself, and then using his police force to stop them, to show that his force is better running the country than Zuko. I guess his part of the plan would be to be loud and shouty about how Zuko sucks and he's great. Yeah, that makes sense. But that also means Ukano is in league with the Kamuri Kage. Like that reckoning they mentioned last issue apparently never came because they're friends now. Tom even asks about that, and Ukano says, yeah, no, they're my friends, they're cool. This is a really strange twist. It's a pretty good twist, but it leaves open a lot of explaining to do with how this plan ever came together. Ukano is a big Kamuri Kage, whoever they are, working in tandem. Zuko's got a lot of his plate, and not only is his authority and Fire Lord being questioned, but there's been a rash of kidnapping under his rule, and there's a kid sleeping under his his room that he really cares about. So he takes the bed to Kazuko. The thing is, though, Tom isn't just some kid that got taken. Zuko knows the kid. He's his little brother, and he feels responsible for not keeping him safe. But wait, there's smoke coming from one of the rooms in the palace, the room that Zuko put Kiki to bed in. Even more for Zuko to feel bad about, he literally took Kiki out of Ursa's arms to put her here. The Kamuri Kage are finally making their play. Aang meets them in Kiki's room, and they all meet the Kamuri Kage on the awning outside the window. Aang and Zuko try to firebend at them, and Zuko, I guess, but like, Aang, couldn't you airbend? I mean, they're literally holding Zuko's sister here, a little safety precaution, maybe. Anyway, Aang gets booted in the stomach, and he's like, that ain't no spirit, no way. The main ghost lady throws the somehow still sleeping Kiki to her friend as they take off. Like, seriously, this kid is still sleeping through all this? Really? Being dragged out of bed and literally being tossed around? Okay, comic, sure, yeah, I bet. She tries to pull their classic smoke bomb vanishing act, but Aang says, haha, not on my watch, dumbass. This is my inspection. Zuko lands a pretty good blow with the ghost lady, and Aang leaves a man to know where his sister and the other gets taken. Zuko's on some profile picture game here, too. Like, oh man, this guy looks good to be angry. And I mean, Aang's trying to, but the Kamuri Kage has a trick of an insane volley of light sending everyone's cabin. Zuko realizes that Smoke Shadow Part 2. It's fine, I think. I don't think it's anything great. The story is still very focused, which I always praise, but at the same time, it feels like it lacks some substance. It's really, really slow. Like, not much at all happens with this issue. Aang and Zuko go to the Dragon Ball catacombs, and Toronto shouts a lot about Zuko not being a good leader, but other than that, there isn't much. Kids get kidnapped, sure, but that's just happening in the background for the most part. It's a driving element to the plot. It's not part of the plot. I feel like these comics have had a lot of pacing issues in the past, of course, with the promise and dessert. Either things move way too quickly or too slow, which is the seems to really nail it. There are so many extended scenes in this of people just standing in place and disagreeing at each other and not getting anywhere. And while there's a place for that, I don't think it should take up the entire comic. The mystery of the Kamuri Kage was fun enough while it lasted, some good intrigue for sure, and even the history lesson was cool. And I'll give the book this, the Azula cliffhanger is a very strong way to end it out. I usually don't end up liking the middle installments of these comics so far, and this one really didn't wow me either. But part 3s are up in the air at the moment. There's been more hits than misses, so we'll find out next time. Patreon shoutouts if you want to see 2 brand new videos from me. You can support me on Patreon. Smoking Shadow Part 3. Wow, what a situation we find ourselves in here. From what we saw for Parts 1 and 2, this could end up being the second best in the entire series of comics. It could also end up being the front-to-back worst one, if you ask me. It all comes down to how Part 3 ties things together. The Yukano plotline, the main Zuko drama, the Azula revelation, there's a lot to get right, or a lot to get wrong. So let's see how things shape up. So we start back up right where we left off, the match between Azula versus Kage. We actually see her fire lightning with both hands here, which isn't something we've ever seen her do. The only person we've seen do that is Osa. Zuko goes to classically redirect the lightning, but from what I can tell from the art, the lightning splits in 2 directions as Azula bends it around Zuko trying to redirect and then reconnects to crash in. So add another Azula can genuinely bend the lightning now trick. And of course, even though Zuko was hit about as squarely as he could have been, he's knocked down for one panel and then he literally says he's okay. But she's strong again, whatever that means. Remember that time Azula killed Aang in the Avatar state? Bolt of lightning, just one, instant death. Anyone? Suki tackles Azula and Kylie tries to get the hits in too.
The fuck, how did Zuko literally just fucking tank a lightning shot from Azula?
Stories upwards onto the roof of the palace to rejoin her sisters in crime. And she didn't even do like a boiling rocket jump or anything. The art makes it seem like the smoke that Kamuri Kage are always cloaked in did most of the legwork for that jump. I might need an explanation on that one, but with that, the Kamuri Kage are gone. He along with them. This is interesting though, as the fight went, they accused the Kamuri Kage of being Azula, but the Kamuri Kage was dead silent. She didn't confirm or deny, leaving open the long shot possibility that maybe it's not Azula. Then again, we get a shot here of her pants, and that does look like an Azula outfit. Ursa comes outside to find her daughter gone. The Fire Lord, the Avatar, and 2 Kyoshi warriors unable to keep her safe. And I'm not gonna lie, if I was Zuko, I might be like, so Anne, weird question, I couldn't help but notice that you didn't go into the Avatar state while my little sister was being kidnapped, so did you not think it was born kid, or it's the next morning now, last night. 4 more kidnappings, making for 13 and total. May's here too, and gives Zuko a hug. You know, get over it, Kalo. The guy's sister just got kidnapped. Let her hug the guy. So we need to give May the rundown of what happened. One of them threw weather at us last night, so that means what makes it lightning bending is rare, but it's not that rare. I don't know, it seemed pretty rare. We only saw the tippy top of the Masters performance before this. I really hate the demystification the comics are trying to pull with Lightning Man. It sucks. But Kylie comments it wasn't just that. It was how she moved. And Kylie's face here says it all. The day both her and May were dreading in part 1 of this book has come to pass. It's Azula's bad. Zuko reaffirms it with Azula, but May asks why she would be doing this. And everyone's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Except for Zuko, who simply says she's Azula, that's reason enough. Which is a really weird line from Zuko, right? After that entire comic of him trying to treat her humanely, treat her like family, trying to get through to her. I mean, he's probably right in saying this, but Zuko's perspective on Azula was supposed to have shifted to be a little softer, I thought. Anyway, May takes this moment to tell Zuko her dad was the one leading them to Ozai society after all. And Suki lets Aang a couple brain cells over here, and they both come to the realization that the new Ozai society and the Saint Nathan societies are actually one and the same. So like, why the hell would you keep that from me? And May's like, he's my dad, you should understand that at least. Okay, fair point. But don't be throwing the fact that I was talking to my dad on the down low and me talking like it's all the time. Like, broke your heart when you're actively keeping a very similar secret with arguably way more intense ramifications. What the hell? I don't know, man. May's becoming less and less legendary before it goes on. So last night when there was all that chanting going on, May intuited that her dad had the Temari Kage weren't legit. So
Wait, what?
maybe he has something to do with the kidnapping of the idea.
Oh!
To write your story, one of your characters just gets a weird feeling and guesses the plot correctly. Sure, I mean if you want. So Zuko commands one of his
I thought I
generals to
disabled
find
Dark
Dark
Army Resurrection.
And if they can't find him, to search everyone's homes. Aang says, hey, hold on now, that doesn't sound good. Let me find him and we'll have a chat. Zuko says, you did it your way, but now it's time to act. And he has Aang escorted out of the palace. Now the comic I think wants to have done with Aang here, but I think this means nothing but pragmatic so far. Listen to Aang did his best to solve the situation with a cool tale, and now he has resolved it and he's acting on it. The only thing I disagree with is the searching people's homes bit. I agree back on that, that's pretty messed up. Doing that will just lost their morning trust and undermine you even further. Aang's like, man, that guy really bothered me. We didn't even check keys for evidence. That's
My bad, there's two of them.
one of the Kurikage bring key into the room with the stolen children, and the ghost lady mentions this is evidence for us early in the meeting. Oh, that's what she was involving. Yeah, okay, so the ghost gets you up. So the meeting of the Kurikage, it turns out that after this one wasn't people are no doubt, she casually talks a line that tells us her team of ghost ladies are all people she broke up. Wait, how does that paperwork never make it to Zuko's desk? How was no report aware of this thing? Isn't that a pretty easy situation? Azula asks how much Ukano loves his country, and Ukano says, man, I emptied my bank account to build you this bunker, you know, I'm committed. But wait, is this not the same bunker you were using for your Ozai Society meetings? Because that one was clearly in operation before your first visitation from the fake Kurikage. So what, you built a whole new bunker? Ukano says, even though he's all about this, don't get him wrong, he still doesn't like taking the kids from their families. And having his own son cooped up down here is really getting him down. Azula says, good, you're all in. So what I need out of you and your goons is a riot. For you to get what you want, I need to get what I want. Which is a great question. What does Azula want here? She says, so you riot, because I said so. Ukano is still confused as to how this will get Ozai back on the throne, but Azula says, I believe to herself since Ukano was leaving the room, that Ozai on the throne is not what she's aiming for. The investigation in Ki's room isn't getting anywhere, but then Tylee has a brain blast and remembers that Azula used the cheated hide and seek using secret passages around the palace. And oh, would you look at that? I wonder where this goes. Down on the city streets, people are being told they can't leave the capital, and a lot of people want to, so their kids don't get snatched up in the night. We're even seeing the army take to searching innocent people's homes. So yeah, this is a little fucked up. Also, this chapter and chapter 1 of this book, we see Fire Nation Austrian forces, which are never shown in the show. Those were
Ugh.
Uniquely picked up mounts. I guess they shared the idea after the war ended. So yeah, sorry lady, we gotta upend your house in case O'Connell was hiding in your cupboard. Get out of here, man. They're literally right outside my window, chasing. Man, you guys are bad at your jobs. The army tries to stop the state nationers, but it turns out the public are squarely on O'Connell's side. It makes sense. The only people that have stopped kidnapping are O'Connell and his thugs. And that was in a very public setting. The only thing they seem to do is suspend his constable from his duties for gathering a force to take a kid. O'Connell's like, damn, this Ryan said shit's easy. Let me pour some fuel on the fire here and really get this shit going. Resist, he demands. Resist them with all your might. And by resist, I mean attack and throw pots through windows. It turns out that pot went flying through the window of the flower shop that May works at, and Kalo happens to be there at the moment. He comes out to see what's up, but one of his buddies from the old freedom fighting days says, we gotta shake the scene. They're arresting anyone connected to O'Connell. But Kalo isn't anymore. But the army doesn't see it that way. Cut now to a blimp in the sky. It's Iroh, inbound from Bossing Say, here to celebrate National Tea Appreciation Day, which is a holiday he instated as interim firelord when Zuko left to find Ursa. Which means this is implying one of two things. Either Iroh set that day to be like a month and a half after he took office, or it's already been a year since Zuko left to find Ursa. The second one doesn't track at all, so I guess it's the first. We rejoin Zuko getting briefed again, this time on the ride. Mace is pleased to hear her dad was there, and Zuko takes her hand as a show of support, but also like, come on, what's way more interesting than that is where we rejoin Zuko, right outside the prison, just outside the capital, and we only know one prisoner is there that Zuko would dare to go visit. The rioters are being transferred to the prison anyway, so the plot comes to them. They see Kalo being led away in chains, and May says, hey, sort this out, Firelord, this is a mistake, and Zuko's like, I don't know. Zuko accuses Kalo of being a double agent in the new Ozai Society, recalling back to how Kalo has betrayed his allies before. But last house of Zuko, remember that time you betrayed the entire Fire Nation? It doesn't matter that it worked out or that you had a cool emotional roller coaster story to back it up. A betrayal is a betrayal. May says, come on, man, and Zuko relents like, alright. Then Kalo really just says that he comes out with it. I know what this is about. Just accept she's with me now and life will be easier for everybody. Wow, and with this smile too, are they trying to make me think that maybe Kalo isn't on the good guy's side after all? Ag's on the scene now and says Zuko's gotta come check out that secret passage. Zuko says he's busy, so buzz off. So Ag pretty much forcibly air scooters Zuko and kidnaps the Firelord. Am I reading this right? Also, remember when Ag tried to teach the air scooter to those air nomad kids and said it was pretty tricky to stay on it? Zuko just all out on purpose. So we arrive at the secret passage and everyone gets to say, yeah, wow, that's pretty cool. So here we go, the Scooby Gang back in again. Kano begs Azula to let the kids go. He did the riot, he did everything she asked, so now just let the kids go. Azula's like, yeah, sure. Azula, having a fright in her head, says that if we let the kids go, they'll leave the Firelord right to our doorstep, so it will not be. We'll let them go, you know, in the future, the kids are getting pretty restless too, because she's fine as the head she's over here practicing. What? She has no idea what she's practicing. She saw Zuko doing this once in the courtyard and figures that this must be what makes it so sick. Also, now that I think about it, the Susan nickname thing from a couple issues back, did that really end up just being a coincidence since neither Azula or he has mentioned it yet? That seems kind of whack. So here we go, the other side of the secret passage, and why is there a secret passage from the roof of the palace to the cemetery? Turns out this is a royal family graveyard. I thought this was the Dragon Boat catacombs before. Oh, Agnes too. Those are just for fireworks. This is for everyone else. Oh, well, those ones are semantics because suddenly it's set on all sides like fake memory copies. The characters wouldn't know this, but should they even be scared here? These are the trees that were broken out of a restaurant. Say they can even throw that. No, I guess the Zula would have had so actually, Iroh gets to the palace and finds it mostly empty. But by years, I realized that something was wrong. Kano was at the door to the children's room crying. All he wanted to do was make sure everyone was safe, and now he's delivered all these children into the hands of the most dangerous person there is. Maybe Manny really fucked this up. It's nice to see a human side of Kano. Like, these chapters, he was really run out, but it's because he's being good in places where no characters buy a duel, which retroactively does kind of save his exactly. So how hopefully we will Kano getting somewhere character-wise by the other is. Everyone in either room is like, what's that pathetic, horrible song? He's like, get out of my way, I got something figured out here, I bet. He also holds the door firebender. Turns out she's a firebender. And she's got to be a pretty good one because metal doesn't just melt like this from nothing fire. Like, there's got to be a lot of constant, very hot fire to melt metal like this. The door doesn't seem all that thick, but just think about the common enhanced firebenders versus metal door column, right? Also, this makes P a bender like Katara, one that doesn't have any genetic ties to bending since neither of her parents are bending. Woo! Let's go, Tom. Cemetery fight scene, baby. The Kamari Dage wearing Azula's clothes immediately makes a beeline for May. And would you look at that? It turns out it's Azula. That checks out. You know, Azula not being a big fan of May, she'd probably go for her first. Well, it's good Azula is here at the moment, not back in the comp after the prison break. Azula weirdly the old shoulder to the middle of the back sneak attack. You couldn't have, like, grabbed her, tried to restrain her to keep her from throwing actual lightning bolts at you. Halo, the non-bender, and as far as I can tell, just like an average dude, takes a blast of lightning to his back, just like Aang. So it's the end for him. It was a good run. But Azula really wants to rub this victory in, telling her, not only did I kill your boyfriend, but also he was a... And holy shit, Azula can vent fire? Did you guys know that? Zuko's like, drop that corpse right now, asshole. Look, you need to go to sleep. Fight already. And May, can you look like 10% more invested? At least get a more engaged standing position. You look like you're waiting in line and they just said they're out of Italian earth and cheese to the person. Azula's like, haha, you suck at having a girlfriend, Zuko. Now,
see what I mean?
Oh, never mind. Azula starts to run away after the
I just have a freaking royal shield now.
Halo, say with me is just fine. People in my comments argue with me that this probably uses the less severe version of lightning to quickly fire it, and I never liked that idea. Iroh's explanation has always been so cool, and not to mention just correct up until the end of the original show. Before now, lightning has just been a move, like moderate charge up for insane output, like it's totally crazy and limited. That's what made it cool. But without keep showing lightning not being lethal, eventually you've got to crack and be like, yeah, okay, I guess she's using some watered down quick fire version that doesn't really even hurt someone if they get hit by it, which really doesn't fit Azula at all. Iroh literally likens lightning to her. It's like the technique is made for her, being a deadly, crazy kill move.
Some call lightning the cold-blooded fire. It is precise and deadly, like Azula.
Before the comics, lightning was basically a death sentence, but let's be corrected, unless we're talking Korra, but I don't know anyone that liked what they did with lightning in Korra. Will I have an extended meltdown planning about how they've neutered lightning in every series of comics? No, only the ones where Azula's around. Meanwhile, Lucano's leading the kids out of the compound, and Ursa's talking to Iroh about how she wished Ki still loved her. She made Ki last year for Ki's birthday present. The doll named Ki. I mean, you get what? Ever since Ursa got her face back, she won't touch it. Iroh says there's no reason to lose hope, and then Ursa asks if she can ask Iroh some real serious shit, and we can all see where this is going. She asks Iroh how he got over death. Iroh says he's not over it. They'll never be over it. Of course he will. As a parent, you want nothing more than for your child to be safe, but the world is an inherently dangerous place.
I can get Zelda's outfit in Big Great Plateau.
And this finally gets into a big theme with the relationship between parents and their children. Ukano is only acting this way because he wants to keep his children safe. Zuko's only acting this way because he wants to keep the people of his nation, according to that one guy back in the search, his children safe. Ursa feels powerless to even connect with her child, afraid that she'll never be close enough to keep her safe ever again. And Iroh is still not over the fact that he couldn't keep Luke Henson. This book is trying to tackle the idea of overprotectiveness and acting without cause, on both the level of something as abstract as world politics to something as personal as your son or daughter, which is a really grandiose topic. It's a lot to swallow. Whether they've executed it well, maybe we'll talk about that more in the wrap-up. Back in the graveyard fight, the other two Kamuri Kage are still trying to make Aang a permanent resident, and I don't know how long they were in that asylum for, but I'd be thinking twice about fighting the Avatar, cool ghosts, cloaks, and masks or not. They somehow get above them, and Aang raises an earth pillar to make them bump their heads. So a lot of head bonking in these latest comics, but they're down in the town. But where'd everyone go? Wonders Aang. Was any here to be calling for help on the nearby too? Oh, this is where the bunker is. Oh, hey kids, you've been down here the whole time, huh? Oh, hold on, I gotta deal with these firewood ladies. Zuko is still hot on Azula's trail, but she runs into a crypt under a lion turtle, maybe, statue. Azula's chilling. She's even spouting off trivia about this first firewood advisor's grave. Zuko's looking to escalate the situation. He says Azula looks better, but Azula very much does want to escalate the situation. Aang's dueling the firewood ladies and takes a breath at the wrong time and swallows a ton of smoke, and then he gets kicked in the back and he's dead. He's down. The Kamuri Kage are over here talking shit like, wow, are you sure this kid's the Avatar? That was easy. But here comes the cavalry. I swear to me, it's the only one in the Avatar universe that knows about punching. The Kamuri Kage are equally as defeated from one kick to the back as that was, so make us reunite with Tom Tom. So Azula has stolen Zuko's signature fire daggers, and Zuko literally says, you wanna go? Let's go. Okay, come on. This conceptually feels like a DeviantArt drawing, but God, this kicks ass. This is awesome. They're literally having a lightsaber duel, and for some reason their fire seems solid here, like each of their fire streams can connect.
This should still be a spicy meat and seafood, right?
Another classic, someone gets kicked and the fight is over. Azula rants over top of Zuko, like, I'm still way better than you, but Zuko says it doesn't matter, you'll never be the Fire Lord. But it turns out, in Azula's self-imposed exile, she found clarity and peace of mind. She doesn't want to be the Fire Lord anymore. She knows her destiny now. It's to make Zuko into the Fire Lord she always wanted to be. Maybe one that's even worse. Azula says, think about it. In the past day alone, I've had you confine your citizens to the capital and have had their homes invaded. It came naturally to you. You're just like father and I after all. Just think about what I can accomplish over the course of our entire lives. And once I've made you into the Fire Lord I always wanted to be, in a sense, I will be Fire Lord. I get it now. Azula brought him down here into the grave with the first Fire Lord's advisor because she'll be, in her own weird way, advising him from now on. One last disappearing smoke act from Azula, and Zuko left alone to wrestle with the idea that she just left. Wait, get back here. Are you going to explain how you and Ukano came up with the plan? I guess you just asked him after the second meeting with them, after the comic cut away. Once Zuko exits the tomb, he's met with Kiyi, and everything seems to have worked out, except that whole Azula thing. Fast forward to the next morning, Ukano is being arrested, and Tom is asking when he'll see him again. And oh man, that feels bad. Don't hit me with that. May takes Tom and says you deserve this, but good move letting all the kids go. That's what I appreciate about you. Tom thing to say around your little brother, right? Then we join Zuko giving an address of the whole kidnapping situation. Zuko says, listen, it happened, and man, you know, I could have done a better job as your Fire Lord. Which is honestly what you want from your Fire Lord, I reckon, one that's willing to grow. Zuko says, all the better. I won't freak out as hard as I did, because that's what happened. I freaked out, and everyone paid the price. Got your home searched and shit? I shouldn't have done that. Meanwhile, Azula and our crew are looking on, loving hearing Zuko trying to clean up the mess she created. But seeing how her word bubble inverts colors when she starts talking, does she do a Batman voice with the mask on? Because that's the only thing I can think of, and if so, that is hilarious. Then we get a few panels in which Kalo breaks up with May. No dialogue or anything, it's all told through action, so it's hard to say what it's over, honestly. I mean, they won, right? Why break up now? Everything seems great. Then we join Ursa, facing her fears and facing Ozai. Ozai tries his best to get the best of Ursa, but Ursa says that she finally sees Ozai for what he is, the man with no power that's trying to have it all. That's what he's always been. And Ozai starts to freak out, saying that Ursa has to get back here in battle, but Ursa just leaves, finally breaking free of his grasp. Not just physically this time, but also mentally. Ursa finally goes to bed with Dorn and Kiyi, and Kiyi seems to finally accept her, and the comic ends. I'm not sure why that happened. I guess Kiyi's 5 years old, and she just kind of got over it, and that's where we close it out. So it's a really mixed bag for me. I think a lot of the writing and pacing, and even character mentality
it's symbolic.
between comics was really all over the place. It always stayed engaging, like I was never bored, but the content felt more surface level than the past comics. There were interesting themes, like I talked about, but I feel like they weren't explored or played around with like other comics published. What it came down to in the end was sort of the uneasy conclusion that Iroh came to in his chat with Ursa. It's do your best and hope everything works out, and luckily everything did work out. And while that is a very realistic sentiment to put in your book, it's also not a very satisfying way to build a story. Odds are, you're not going to believe this, Azula. I know a lot of people don't like this turn for her character, but compared to her just being a complete whack job, come on. There's also a lot of people that think Azula needs a redemption arc, and I never understood that. While yes, I agree, everyone deserves a second chance, there's also room for villains just to be villains. And that's what I see Azula as, a villain. And this comic lets her be villainous. She's orchestrated this whole thing. She's got a whole new crew. She's got a new look. She's got a new goal in life. Awesome. I know there's lots of kinds of people out there that want different things for this character, but to me, this is an absolutely another positive I can think
Check
of
this
is
shit
that
out.
this wasn't any story. He was around, but he was a supporting character. And I think this universe is strong enough to have stories like this where the main character doesn't necessarily have to be the main character of the comic. Also, Zuko and May being outside of Ozai's prison in the room seems to have sense again. I guess they put them in there just to be like, oh yeah, I'm seeing all the people that were rioting, even though I'm only getting 3 from it now. So like, how would he know to be there? So to me, that feels like he went to talk to Ozai again, but it's never mentioned. Maybe that's in a future comic, I don't know. Ukano wasn't so bad in the end either. I like that he got a bit of an arc, realizing what he did was wrong, even though his intentions were pure. Just like how Zuko realized what he did was wrong, even though his intentions were pure. A nice little parallel there. I just wish our themes were a little more prevalent and our pacing was a little stronger. So in the end of it all, how does Smoke and Shadow stack up? Well, in the face of the Rift, it is definitely disappointing. But for the Avatar comics as a whole, I'd say it's about the middle of the pack. Patreon shoutouts. If you want to see 2 brand new videos from me, you can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons. Magic Rhino was an energy field around them that lets them put whatever they want on food and no one gives them shit. Pineapple on pizza, ketchup on steak, it doesn't matter.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Accountability's combination therapist and Caravan. Whether you need to get over childhood trauma or need help wonderfully, come to Accountabilities. Today, I put you all based on your addiction. Let's start the circle and share why we're here.
Hello, my name is How We Do It. Ever since they limited how many Pokemon cards I could buy, I decided to channel my addictive personality to something that's harmful. Now I'm addicted to drugs. I don't do them or anything. I just like collecting them all. Look, this one's shaped like Wario.
Hello, my My name's Rich Mahogany, but you can call me Dickwood. Ever since someone said there were too many Fire Emblem characters in Smash, I've been addicted to defending Nintendo games online. One time, I blacked out, and 2 days later, I found out I wrote a thesis on how cutting Pokemon from Sword and Shield is a good thing.
Very wrong. And you?
Hello, my name is Jack. My gang name is Mumbles. It's an Easter Blockade Club 1411. I don't know what I'm doing here.
It says you were ordered by a court to be here.
I don't recognize the state of Massachusetts as real. If I did, I'd sue them.
It says you were arrested. Liking Sonic.
Oh, he's fucking.
King of
Is he dead?
No, he's just a loser.
I don't see why that's a crime. I just really like the game.
Is it going to help? Let's start from the beginning. This Sonic, is he related?
He's a 3-foot-tall cartoon hedgehog.
That doesn't answer the question.
All right, I'll go next. Sonic the Hedgehog is one of my earliest video game memories. My first console was my dad's hand-me-down SNES, all of you. And the first game I remember playing for was Speedy Gonzales Los Gatos Benditos. If you ever have any questions as to why I turned out this way, this is the answer. After having a little exposure to the N64, I got to play a game at my friend's house, and she had this game called Sonic Rose. I didn't even know what a hero was Sonic, so I used to play. I had such a blast. It was like some sort of 3D Speedy Gonzales game. Eventually, after a psychological warfare campaign against my parents, they insisted with me going, I want it. They relented and got me a GameCube for my birthday, alongside Luigi's Mansion. However, all I wanted was that sweet flesh of Sonic, and I wanted it in my veins. Eventually, a Hollywood video in my neighborhood started to stop me. They had it.
Fuck yeah, still got it.
Dreams. Sonic Adventure DX. How do you even spell that? So it wasn't quite the elusive game that I wanted to get my hands on, but I had the Blue Bunny Belt on the front, so I had to get it. Turns out it was exactly what I wanted. Not only was there Sonic, but Yellow Sonic, Red Sonic, Blue Sonic, and Metal Sonic. This game meant so much to me that I asked for rented for months.
I thought Blue Sonic would have been Rouge, not...
Try, play more, return it, and the cycle of victimization would start all over again. It's late to be buying Sonic Adventure 2 from GameStop with my own money, begging my parents for Shadow the Hedgehog, learning curse words from it, blaming on Ed, Ed, and Eddie, I swear I'm not lying, and salivating over Sonic for the Xbox. Around this time, my house burned down, so Sonic kind of took a backseat. But now I want to take a look back through all these games and talk about my experience with them, development history, and their impact on the franchise as a whole. Sonic's first 3D outing! Kinda! Yeah, Sonic dabbled in 3D as soon as he could, whether it was on the Sega Saturn with games like Sonic R and Sonic Jam, or even Sonic 3D Blast on the Genesis. He was hopelessly addicted to 3D, and just like all addictions, it slowly rotted him away. Ah, yes, the fabled Sonic 3D transition. I could go on and on about this for hours. And I will! See, Sonic transition 3D was anime references? Is this Nazi Germany or communist Russia?
Sir, I don't have to answer that.
Whoa, fascist Italy! So I've lost my best weapon, so it's time for the sidearm. Development of Sonic Adventure. So the late 90s were a far cry from how Sega spent the early 90s. Finding time with the Genesis, the Sega Saturn sent Sega crashing back down to earth. Powerful piece of hardware for the time that they just saw enough fumble at every opportunity. First was the release date. Saturn had a cute little day named after it. To be released on Saturn Day, September 2nd of 1995. However, video game envy Sony accidentally released one of the best-selling consoles of all time, and Sega was starting to feel the heat.
July 9th.
So we beat 1995, and it's like, fuck it, it's released now. That's right, 30,000 Saturns released into Toys R Us like a plate of rats. Stores like Walmart and TV took it responded with, the f***ing love rats, and swore off selling Sega products. The Sega Saturn one was flipping them out. This single decision to spring the launch of the Saturn onto the American market was more likely than not the decision that ended Sega's involvement in the console market at all. That's how disastrous it was. But at least the games were good, right? Well, problem 2 was the fact that the Sega Saturn didn't have the same appeal in America that it did in Japan. Same way that the Xbox was the Halo machine, Saturn was the Virtua Fighter machine. The franchise was massive in Japan, but in America? Ew, I don't play Tekken ripoffs. So Virtua Fighter wasn't enough to draw people in, so to. They were also sure the Saturn wouldn't fail. No original Sonic games were released on the Saturn, with us instead getting Sonic R and Sonic Jam, a racing spin-off game and a compilation game. Both have merits in their own right. For what it's worth, Sonic R isn't nearly as terrible as people make it out to be, and the model they used in Sonic Jam is personally one of my favorite 3D Sonic models. Ask the Wii U how to run the whole console generation without a traditional entry in your flagship series goes. But that's not to say one wasn't in development. Sonic Extreme was a game that deserves its own look in the future. But for the time being, imagine what a game would be like if its development was built on top of an ancient Indian burial ground. So Sonic would sit out this generation as the Sega ship didn't so much start to sink as it began shoveling water onto itself to put out an engine fire. Sonic would soon be brought back in as the next generation of Sega consoles. The Dreamcast was coming into being. Yuji Naka and Team Sonic were done making Mexican dreams and fucking over the Sonic Extreme dust by not giving them the engine. After that, they decided to tackle Sonic. This is going dormant without a game on the Saturn. However, this wasn't your mama's Sonic. This would be a new, mature Sonic. Someone who grew up alongside the players. Sonic would
My gyro
flushed out the serious storyline. Even the audio changed. It's what we now know as Sonic Robot. This was the man's Sonic game, and Sega would not mess up as badly as they did last time. They worked their butts off to promote this game. Functional Invented Dreamcast was launched in the game. Sonic OVA, and the creation of Sonic Underground, which was a free-fire single with a dog show attached. It would soon come out on September 9th, 1999, alongside its console. Sonic Adventure gave Sega a fighting chance, or at least for a while. This is not the game we're playing today. See, that while that Sega had run out about 2 years later as Dreamcasts were discontinued, and Sega officially dropped out of the console market, moving to full-time third-party development. And now they were publishing for other consoles, they decided to update Adventure to look a little nicer and work on new hardware. This was Sonic Adventure DX, Director's Cut. This is a version that got released on things like Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation, and is a very divisive port, since it put a lot more problems into the system that weren't there before, made the graphics look a little less appealing, and created a whole lot of glitches that led people who had only played this into thinking that Adventure was always a glitchy mess. However, for the ease of capture, I'll just be using the DX release on PC. So it's finally time to step back into a classic. My riddle dog. This is Sonic Adventure. There's a better way to judge a Sonic game by its opening. I don't want to hear it. This game's opening is definitely nostalgic, but I feel like it goes a little too much of the and it doesn't really give you a good enough look at Sonic for the longest time. It's not the best Sonic game, but it's certainly up there. Sonic Adventure is the story of Sonic the Hedgehog. With that, you can find the top of buildings. It's happening at the same time a monster shows up in the station square. Water monster named Chaos. Come on, you big trick! It turns out that this is all Eggman's doing. As I was saying, it's about to workshop and find an Eggman. Chaos are going to beat the Chaos to the perfect. He manages to take our Emerald and has to run the world and give him much more he can. So we're back to square one and gotta go find even more Emeralds. Eventually, let's speed back up with a blow through our independent floor master Emerald holder, where we, oh no, our way into losing the rest of our Emeralds. Letting off Chaos a little longer, Eggman retreats to its massive flying fortress. Sonic and Tails flying after to take it down. Now that they're separated, Sonic runs through a red mountain and meets back up with Tails in a revamped tornado, which manages to board Eggman's ship. After a dash all around things, Sonic not only has to fight Eggman's latest super advanced fighting robot, but the nearly perfect Chaos. However, it, along with the egg carrier, is destroyed in a blaze of real explosion glory. However, Sonic knows better and heads off to the ancient ruins to find out what's going on. But then he's got to finish off Eggman, ending his journey with one final dust-up, with these eggs being anything but over easy. And that's the story of Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure is the story of Tails. Weird name. He's a fox boy who loves inventing and befriending the homeless. There's a comma there you're not seeing, too. Tails didn't invent homeless, his act crashed displayed and rescued by Sonic the Adventure at the workshop, only to find Eggman. He steals the emerald they had and finds out about Chaos, a big white fella who loves to eat rocks. Sonic and Tails set out to find the emerald, and like a show, Tails tries to make a race out of it. Adventures from wind to cash to ice, all before attempting to confront Eggman and his magical flying blade. Then we actually get the backstory of how Sonic and Tails met. One time, Tails was walking, and a parasitic relationship was formed. After rebuilding his flying machine, he tears up the sky deck before helping Amy down with the collapsing egg carrier. However, Eggman escaped too, and he's now going to nuke Station Square with a massive missile! However, lo and behold, the missile's a dud. Now, after mustering up enough courage, Tails flies out not only to stop the missile, but also Eggman's second final thing. And that is the story of Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure is the story of that red guy from Sonic Adventure. What's his name? Puncho the Magnificent. So Puncho is guarding the Masked Rebel, before suddenly it explodes and unleashes chaos. Without the Emerald, Angel Island begins to plummet into the earth. It's up to Puncho to collect the pieces and reassemble the Emerald to raise his home back to the sky. On his journey, he runs into Eggman, who he scuffles with, before Eggman tips him off to the fact that Sonic and Tails are also collecting Emerald pieces. Puncho goes out to tangle with the Terrible Two, who realizes it's still Eggman. After Sonic and Tails go to meet Eggman, Puncho decides to go and find the rest of the Masked Rebel pieces instead. There he gets whisked to an ancient ruined temple, and then back to the past for a history lesson about his people. He then goes up to the egg carrier after realizing that's where the last Emerald piece is. After that, he helps Sonic beat the nearly complete chaos and returns to Angel Island, resigning himself to a life of loneliness so nothing like this can ever happen again. And that is the story of Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure is the story of Amy, the girl from that Sonic game that people say is good, but it's easy to tell when they're lying about it because of the tears welling up in their eyes. Amy is trying to get groceries when a bird hits her and Eggman unleashes the delivery on her. Pink tries to recruit Blue to stop Green, but then just kinda doesn't do that. Green takes Pink to Egg, and Egg sends Rob to make sure she stays Pink. Pink says Rob stay, and Rob lets Pink stay Pink. Blade crash, and then Pink comes to exact same revelation that Yellow did earlier about not relying on Blue too much. Green get bonk, and then all birds go away to be burned. And that's the story of Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure doesn't have a story. Sonic Adventure is about killing Sonic, so steps are being made in the right direction. You play as E-102 Gamma, part of the E-series of robots that Eggman built to act as his guard and crew on the egg carrier. Gamma is woken up and tasked with running the training course to see how effective he is. After that, you throw down with your brother Beta for the final position on Eggman's ship. Once you win, Beta's allowed to stay on the ship to act as spare parts. After that, you're sent to go get the frog with Chaos' tail on it, so Chaos can be perfect. Once you bring back the right frog, you're tasked with gunning down Sonic. Before you can do that, you have some other stuff to do. Pick me outside a cake, and coming on what actually happened to Beta. After you beat Sonic, you flee the destroyed egg carrier, before realizing that Eggman was a bad guy all along. Gamma decides to dedicate himself to destroying the other E-Series robots to free them from Eggman's control. After flying through Delta, Epsilon, and Zeta, only one E-Series robot is left. That is until Beta's reactivated, you throw down with him one more time. After you finish the beat, he fires one last shot and fatally wounds Gamma, with the two blowing up and the animals inside being free. And that is the story of Sonic Adventure. Yeah, Sonic Adventure clearly is more fleshed out with a story than any other Sonic game to this point. It takes full advantage of the hardware to tell complete story with characters that are more fleshed out than ever before. Some stories are better than others. It's basically first place Gamma and everyone else clawing for second place, but I'll elaborate more later. I really like this method of storytelling. Sonic has a massive cast that all have very different ways of playing, but separating them out into these different sections is not only clever, but helps contextualize other parts of the game. Gamma's first level is Final Egg. Well, Sonic's campaign, because he lives on the egg carrier. Tails and Puncho both have stages because they weren't present at that point in the story. Puncho only goes to levels with big open areas. Big only goes to levels with a lot of water. I think it really complements the fact that not only are all these levels really distinct from one another, but that certain characters get different things in the same environment. Now, going over how each character plays is a little difficult, since they all play kinda similar but different, while all going through similar but not too similar paths. I'll go in the same order that I did before and talk about their playstyles and briefly touch on their levels. Sonic's all about rushing through stages at the speed of sound, spin dash, and using the skill people do that called the homing attack. Press the jump button on the and go buck towards the next bad guy. Most of the time. Sonic's probably the most fun character to control, since he's the main one. He's got a great amount of speed, so good good levels fun to play through, but let's do it with an old person. And don't use the escape to find out Sonics are all about his lightning speed dash, which lets you charge up the spin dash right for minor rings. Now, when you put the charge fast, and Sonic goes to Emerald Coast, Mickey Hill, Casinopolis, Ice Cap, Sky Highway, Mountain, Sky Deck, Lost World, and Final Egg. Emerald Coast is your Green Hill standard for the game, but at the very least you wouldn't know given the fact that it's not a carbon copy. Beach Theme was really swarmed throughout the whole way. There's a lot of fun spots for good speed, while still have actual platform challenges, and the beginning of the feud between Sonic and Morgan and SummerSlam. Mickey Hill is a great stage that, while it doesn't let you speed up as much out of the on the spot, it throws a great set piece where you get sucked into a tornado. Casinopolis freaking sucks. This is actually one of the worst 3D Sonic stages, and I'm not joking. Whole level is casino pinball tables, the lady where it rings to get up a very, very slight incline. Tables are so horrible, since the paddles send you in the exact same direction every single time. So it's not like you get to even do pathways where you get to waste a whole 30 seconds watching them try to make dice a thing. Tails can just fly, lift him up there. However, if you get less than 100 rings on a pinball table, you get set to an actual level. This isn't much better since it's mostly just made up of sewer tube. I'll take anything over the nightmare that is at Sonic Spinball Center. Ice Cap is after that, and sadly it's not much better. Just a lot of jumping in a single enclosed area with a snowboarding segment. It can be fun, but not when you crash into everything. Sky Chase is really boring, as the last thing Sonic should ever be is on rails. So the park starts off with a pretty fun bumper car segment, which gives you a different type of speed. Well, after that, it's nothing special, but the carpet theming is really nice. Even after Casinopolis being similar and not that long ago. Speed Highway is probably my favorite Sonic stage in the game. It's ridiculous to go fast, decently challenging platforming, and a great set piece as you run down the side of a building. Red Mountain is pretty cool, just for how different the first and second parts are. Outside, it's a lot of cool set pieces like the zip lines and rockets, jumping around craters and swinging on bars. Inside is a lot more like a death trap with rising lava and falling rocks. This level's great. Fits that another Sky Chase comes right after, just as boring with a light boss fight afterwards. Skydeck is weird, because I see the idea for a lot of the skips in this level, but it's kind of clunky. I'm sure if I was more adjusted to the adventure jank, I could blaze right through this, and it's certainly not bad. Just a little.
Oh no, why would you do that?
Lost World is really gimmicky, since it has very distinct sections. Sections where you run through a tube with a flaming pillar shooting out is really cool. Section on the water snake isn't. Section with the anti-gravity pads is cool. Section with mirror isn't. Final Egg is an appropriate end to the game since it feels big, climactic, and builds on a long runtime better than Skydeck. Tails only goes through Windy Valley, Casinopolis, Ice Cap, Skydeck, and Speed Highway. Tails is more vertically capable than Sonic since he can fly, he can skip massive portions of the level. Tails, wait for me! Which doesn't help the fact that all of his levels are races with Sonic. Tails flying is so broken for how much ground it covers that you almost never are in any danger of losing a race to Sonic. He'll rubber band forward from time to time, but that doesn't put you anywhere close to him. I like this gameplay style, it's how fast you can blaze through levels, but at the same time it's a really hollow experience. Windy Valley and Skydeck you barely experience, as flying lets you skip most of them. And since boost rings reset your flight in midair, you get to skip even more. Casinopolis takes place in the sewer section, so no pinball, so it's automatically better than Sonic's. And Ice Cap is just the snowboarding section. You also have to go through a different snowboarding minigame and the Sky Chases again, which are no more fun now than they were with Sonic. Speed Highway is the only level where you race against someone other than Sonic, and it's probably the best Tails level. Funny how everyone so far goes through here has their best level here. You get to fly through a lot of the level, but it feels more tailored to Tails' abilities rather than just being a regular level with Tails in it. Puncher the Magnificent is weird, since instead of speeding through the levels, you have to search them to look for missing emerald pieces. You go through Speed Highway, Casinopolis, Red Mountain, Lost World, and Skydeck. Puncher is just as fast as Sonic and has the ability to collide, so his movement options are pretty fun. Scavenger Hunt style of gameplay is something that got brought back in Adventure 2, and I'm split on which game does it better. On one hand, this game has a radar that helps you find pieces. As soon as you're close to one, it starts to beep. In Adventure 2, Puncho can only sense one piece at a time, and will ignore the other ones that you're near, since it's not in the right order. However, Adventure 2 has a better use of one of the upgrades in this game, the Drill Call. It's more satisfying to use in the sequel, as this one is just sort of clumsy and weird. Overall, 1 isn't no doubt better, but I think I prefer 2 still. Speed Highway exclusively takes place in the second part of the level, and it's easy enough to get you introduced to how Puncho works. Casinopolis never goes to the pinball table, so it's a massive upgrade. Red Mountain stays in the first act, and gives you a crazy amount of room to climb in. I really enjoyed this one. And Skydeck, well, it kind of makes you fidget with this switch to change the stage a little too much for my liking. Amy is awful. I hated playing as Amy so much. She's not as fast as everyone else, except if she runs a little bit and goes to a full sprint. Then your normal hammer attack turns into a massive vault. The only problem is the fact that if you turn even a little bit while in full sprint, it goes away. That means the slightest nudge in a different direction will make you do your normal hammer attack instead of a vault and stop you dead in your tracks. Without full sprint, Amy is unbearably slow. And go up slope, she's practically crawling. She goes through Twinkle Park, Hot Shelter, and Final Egg. Twinkle Park is decent and has a cool mirror bit, but Hot Shelter is easily the worst level in the game. It's so long and boring. The place is so cramped, and the camera gets stuck on so many things. Bounce against walls and bomb parts of the environment. It's so incredibly bad, it takes forever to get through. I'd rather play the pinball again. in the big section's long. And you know how leaving a hit on the ball usually never results in actually getting to reel it in? Turns out if you mash down, you'll almost always get a hit, and then you just have to reel it in. After I figured that out, this section became a breeze. Honestly, I didn't think Big was half bad when I got to actually figuring out how it worked. It ended up being a quick and easy romp through Twinkie Park, Ice Cap, and Old Coast and Hot Shelter. It turns out Big is tragically misunderstood. Gamma doesn't have the most unique game plan of everybody, saying Big, with his main weapon being a gun rather than throwing his body on the bar. Unlike how it's handled in the sequel, the noise it makes is borderline tolerable, and Gamma is a lot more mobile than you'd expect, especially with the hover pack upgrade. Despite being a robot, Gamma really isn't stiff at all. In all the stages it did, both being Final Egg and Old Coast, Twinkie Valley, Red Mountain, and Hot Shelter, instead of the timer ticking up, it ticks down. So much time to make it to the stage. Although that time can't be replenished by killing enemies and combos, you build up a chain. Finally, this is simply a tutorial for this type of gameplay, and Old Coast is fun, right? I get to blast through the same lovely scene you ran through with Sonic 4. Windy Valley, Red Mountain, and Hot Shelter are fine too. Each character has a slew of bosses they have to tackle, including Chaos in 0, 2, 4, 6. There's also Endpoint, Viper, and Bulk. Exclusive to Amy is fight with Zero, the green robot, and Gamma fights the 4 other E-Series robots. Chaos 0 is a matter of being able to do a homing attack, otherwise the rest of the game will never be seen. Chaos 2 is a super punch show, and it took me a while to realize you can hit well in all 4 men, and it's pretty easy after that. I hate 4 for the fact that it takes forever to get to the point. You have to fight him 3 times! 6 is pretty fun for at least having a gimmick and a variety of moves, and is especially good if you fight him as Big, since you have to go fishing inside the water monster. Egg Hornet is a pretty standard Sonic boss, Egg Viper is an endurance battle against the boss's weirdly telegraphed attacks and ends in a kamikaze attack, and the Egg Walker is a matter of running back and forth and bobbing his ankles. Zero sucks because you fight him as Amy, and Saber Beta, all the fights against the E-Series robots are pretty boring. There are also battles against other characters like Punch-Out and Gamma that are so inconsequential that talking about them would be insulting. If I had to rate each character I enjoyed playing as, number 1 is Sonic, 2nd is Gamma, 3rd is Tails, 4th is Punch-Out, 5th is Big, 6th is Goku Punch, but it's color, and 8 is 7. The way the gameplay goes, the presentation of this game is charming and not extremely dated. Actually, it came from over 2 decades ago as a little polished, but using the does like a lot of these animations, some texture with mod, but it's actually looking really good. Those are all flashy and fun to look at, especially for some of the advanced stages being too simpler, and all have enough visual flair to make themselves distinct. Characters, well, they all took a downgrade from adventures, yes. Although I definitely prefer the original ones. The hub worlds as well are pretty fun to explore, the maze, the jungle, and the mystic ruins notwithstanding. Not to mention that, say for some examples like Sonic trying to find a key card to the highway, I actually never had any problem finding anything. Save for one character. I don't know what it was about him, but Punch-Out the Magnificent was such a pain to navigate the overworld with. This game just gives you no idea where to go, so you constantly have to ask for hints to figure out where to go next, but sometimes they're completely useless. There was a section where you get trapped in the caves with Punch-Out and you have to dig up the funky destruction switch to get out. Easy enough, I moved many funky destruction switches, but then I was lost, until I got to use the funky destruction switch. And then I remembered to get to Red Mountain, you have to destroy the monkey guard, so you have to haul the switch far, far away from where you find it. But that does lead to the fact that the more campaigns you complete, the better idea you have on where to go in the world. You know, this door leads to Speed Highway, you know, you need the Wind Key to get to Windy Valley, you need the button on the top of the sign for Casino-Lopolis. The layout of the hub is designed that as such, once you learn it, you'll never ever forget it. The audio has to be one of the biggest mixed bags for any game I've ever seen. On the one hand, the music in the game is unbelievable. Every track from Red Mountain to Speed Highway, Windy Valley, and Final Egg, all bangers, and that's outside of the character themes, which are all amazing. Sonic's Aerosmith ripoff, Tails' weird, sort of pop inspirational song, Amy's song, which is just kind of her listing off her entire personality in the most rowdy, nasty way possible. Big's theme sounded like a big comedy bad guy song, which, yeah, and Gamma's being droning and all too melodramatic. Then there's Punch-Out, who obviously stands head and shoulders above everyone else. They set out to make a memorable soundtrack, they succeeded. That being said, the actual mixing of that audio is atrocious, and was a problem not addressed in the sequel. To let you know how bad it was, whenever a new character enters the scene, their theme will play. Transition, that theme will restart. Get very, very familiar with the opening of everybody's themes very, very quickly.
I did it all by myself!
Audio voice acting is
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah!
Certainly not great, but I feel it was laying the groundwork for better things. Tails is obviously bad because you don't let children voice children, they're awful and ruin everything. But Sonic and especially Eggman were not only good from the outset, but improved massively with time. I feel like people really hit their stride by Adventure 2, but it's still pretty rooted in the end game though. Once you finish everyone's story, you'll unlock the secret story. Super Sonic. Sonic and Tails find the Angel Island has sunk again, and Chaos found the last emerald he needed in the crash tornado. Now the whole of Station Square is flooded, and Sonic has to stop them. After him and his friends, who people he's never even met before, give him the power of positive energy, he goes Super Sonic and goes off to take on Perfect Chaos, as Open Your Heart plays in the background. As far as BotW goes, it's not the best, but I still think it doesn't get nearly enough credit. This is easily the best boss fight in the game, as it combines both a little bit of challenge with going fast. After exploding out his brains, it's time to take down Chaos and to calm him. Turning the afterlife into peace. And that is the story of Sonic Adventure. Overall, I think this game is still a blast, but I also grew up with it, so I acknowledge that if you're getting into it today, you're probably going to think it's a massive jank fest, not helped along by the fact that DX is not a good port. However, it does take a Sonic newbie to see that there are still problems, but you can still like the game and acknowledge the fact that it has faults, like how the game makes you step to the credits 7 times without the option to skip. Thanks.
Wow! So it sounds like that despite realizing that it wasn't as good as when you were a child, you still had an overall good time.
That's what I wrote in the script for you to say, yeah.
And that makes another satisfied customer. Happy to have helped.
You didn't do anything, I just talked about Sonic!
And you couldn't have done it without me. Now, make sure not to get caught liking Sonic again, or it's the death penalty for you.
No, it's not like this is the only game I said I liked.
There's more than one Sonic game?
about 6 levels and no gameplay variety. Doing the same thing in the beginning as you do in the end, and that end only comes about an hour and a half after starting? This isn't gonna be a long one, folks, so sit back and relax. We're taking this baby into turbo. Space Raiders, let's go! And what could possibly be faster than a history lesson? God, I love things that have already happened. Let's go! See, Space Invaders was created in 1978 by Tomohiro Nishikado. And when I say created by, I mean created by. The living legend created everything from the graphics, sounds, mechanics, even the microchip for the game's eventual arcade release by Taito. Influential is way too small a word to describe Space Invaders. If you ask your granddad what video games he played back in the day, first he'd probably stop talking about commemorative coins or whatever old people do. But then he describes Space Invaders. Even to this day, Space Invaders is tied to the public idea of what a video game is. A graphic as simple as this little crabbed alien is still one of the most iconic characters in the whole medium. Creative juggernauts like Shigeru Miyamoto, Hideo Kojima, and John Romero all say this is a massive inspiration for even what got them interested in making games in the first place. And this was all before a home release. Space Invaders, like Pac-Man, were so desired that one of the reasons the Atari 2600 was so successful was that many copies came with Space Invaders. And unlike Atari 2600 Pac-Man, which was an unmitigated disaster that nearly kicked video games into a shallow grave, this was a darn near perfect recreation. It's no stretch to say that this was gaming's first killer app. In the same way that Super Mario Bros. Was for the NES, Halo was for Xbox, and Little Deviants was for the estate for the Atari 2600, and it will go down as one of the most influential pieces of media in the last century. But this could only tide you over for so long. Attempts by Taito to innovate, expand upon, and complicate Space Invaders to keep up with the ever-expanding video game market were made. Some of them didn't immediately get thrown in the trash. Space Invaders Part 2 came out in 1979 in Japan and 1980 in America. Yippee! The story continues! With all the time between entries, I wonder what they cooked up for this one! Whoa, nice graphics! Yeah, so this was just a continuation of the Space Invaders formula, and have to be Space Invader cabinets. Tomohiro, get in here and just pick it up with a highlighter, dude. But whatever, because the next year we would see Space Invaders 2 being released. Yeah, that's right. There are 2 distinct games called Space Invaders Part 2 and Space Invaders 2. If you girls. But whatever. The 4-year gap between that and our next game, we were set for a whole new world of Space Invader opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present Return of the Invaders. So as you can see, we've taken quite the graphical leap up, and instead of the standard pattern aliens came down, and now they're going all hairy-carry all over the place. Truly the Space Invaders for the next generation. However, this game didn't exactly set the world alight like Space Invaders. In fact, someone pointed out that the game felt archaic since we were now going up to the 10-year anniversary of Space Invaders. Games like Galaxia, Galaga, and Gradius either already out or just around the corner. Space Invaders had to evolve or die, and evolve they did. What many consider to be the best Space Invaders game, Super Space Invaders 91, was released in 1990. And at first glance, seems like they did not learn a fucking thing. It only took a few levels to see that this wasn't your mama Space Invaders, as beautiful moving backgrounds, new enemies with fun gimmicks, boss battles, and more were right around the corner. This is what Space Invaders needed in order to stay fresh. Take what people know and love and innovate on it. Take it in a bold new direction. What else can they do in the next game 3 years later? Space Invaders DX. You never learn, Taito. Space Invaders DX has to be one of the weirdest releases of Space Invaders, as was an arcade cabinet that included Space Invaders Versus, and Parody Mode. Space Invaders Mode allowed you to play other classic upright, cocktail cabinet, cellophane, or color Space Invaders. Here's the thing though, it's the exact same game no matter what. All 4 options are literally just either color or aspect ratio switches. Oh, the Super Mario World cartridge comes with 2 ways to play! Either play in classic mode, or turn your TV upside down! Versus mode is interesting, at least, for the fact that it spiced up the gameplay, since you're competing against somebody else. And shooting certain colored aliens either puts you in an advantage, or adds more aliens to your opponent's screen. And kinda like Puyo Puyo. Parody mode is just the Space Invaders, but different Taito games like Bubble Bobble and New Zealand Story get their graphics swapped out instead of the Space Invaders. But still, this was not a welcome addition to the family, purely because how much 91 was a step in the right direction, and DX was 2 steps back. Another drastic change would be needed. Actually, you know what? Go back to DX, I'm sorry! Space Invaders 95 Attack of the Lunar Loonies was a game I was positive it was just called Space Invaders for the American market so people wouldn't call the cops on it, but no, it's indeed the next chapter in the Space Invaders story. So clearly this is a lot more in line with a game like Parodius rather than the other Space Invaders games.
I fucking jumped, I swear.
It does actually carry over some features from Super 91, and adds its own, like a charge shot that sends enemies flying every which way. Not to say, but I honestly think I prefer this to DX, since at least this game tries so spectacularly to be different, instead of DX, which played it way too safe. And from there, Space Invaders mainly lived in compilation games, relegated to whenever a title wanted to trot out its old games for a quick buck when a new console came out. Saturn, PS1, new one, DVD. Jesus, Space Invaders, have some self-respect. There was, however, one final attempt to bring Space Invaders back to the forefront. This wasn't going to have any of those dumb baby graphics from that innovator in the gaming space that he spent months lovingly crafting. Fuck him! This would be a dark, edgy Space Invaders. This wasn't your grandma's Space Invaders. This was Space Raiders. Unless you were European, in which case you crispy-eating weirdos got Space Invaders Invasion Day instead. The box proudly boasts that this game was made by the creator of Space Invaders. Don't think that's true. This is kind of like when a movie says it was made by the same producer of something, or if they're really desperate, by the studio who brought you something. Oh yeah, the creator sat in that seat over there. We took a great big snip before we made this one. So the people actually behind this game were Massive Games. And, okay, I'm not entirely sure because I can't find the exact connective tissue I need anywhere, so take this with a grain of salt. But if this is the Massive studio I think it is, these guys developed Fight Crowd. I can't say for certain because there's kind of a disconnect between the wiki page and the website's development history that, like, I can't explain, but if this is real, what a glow-up! Speaking of Wikipedias, even the Space Invaders fan wiki doesn't classify this as the next Space Invaders game, instead saying it's a Taito game that resembles Space Invaders. Space Invaders was in a horrible car accident, and now it resembles Space Invaders after months and months of reconstructive surgery. If that's the case, let's see just how much this game resembles Space Invaders. So the game's taken. All is well in PS2 City. The crop of this guy is coming in great this year. For 3 generations of the same guy look up and realize, oh, and it's the Space Invaders! I'm not joking when I say this. There is not a single sound effect in this opening that was made for this game. I'm sure that you can find most of these on free sound software. It's then that we meet our cast of characters. First being Naji. Meg makes for possibly the easiest game of spot the main character ever. Ashley, who Wikipedia says is a fashion photographer. Simple information, the aliens are going to want to know this. And I'm just hoping his name is Justin because I'm not checking to see if I'm right or not. Each one of them has their own reason to fight back against the alien menace. Naji was made fun of for coming to work in full Saints Row cosplay. Some of Christian's stupid friends were eaten or something, and the love of Ashley's life was taken by the aliens. That's right, a Squall cosplayer she met at a con! And, if I may indulge for a second, how did the aliens break it exactly? Like his jacket, perfectly preserved, it's on the floor. Part wasn't broken into, and for an alien invasion, it's in decent shape, save for the Unabomber series of pictures on the wall. Did the aliens just quietly come in one by one to each apartment and take him after he surrendered? Was he just out at the time and just left his lucky jacket behind? Has he actually been dead for 15 years and actually refused to let go even though the accident wasn't her fault? He's actually previously to a shelter for herself and we never stopped caring about you? Oh gosh, I just want to play to find out! Before we start the game though, it does give us a peril, and I'm using the dictionary definition here, folks, please don't be upset with me. Hubba jubbly bubblies to admire, and I do believe that the case for their latest cranking material, Space Raiders would be just about at the top of the list. After seeing the bountiful harvest of options provided to us, I decided to dive into the story. See, I got a choice between our leads. After putting in a lot of hard work and thought into picking my protagonist, or covering my eyes and just pressing A, I don't remember. We ended up playing a Scott. And I won't lie, I would actually like a Space Invaders jacket. It looks great. So the first level starts up at... Well, it's Space Invaders, don't you see the resemblance? It really is nothing more embarrassing than like your dad knows everything. So let's talk about your eyes, more specifically what they're seeing. See, in the PS1 era, you can sort of excuse games because they were never done in 3D. Plus, they got a certain charm about them. PS3 is when games finally realize that looking good might not kill them, and that makes PS2 the awful, horrible middle child shocked. Like all middle children. not bad enough to be charming and not good enough to be good. Here's a classic example. Only greens, green rays, and quite literally doo-doo brown make up the color palette of the backgrounds. Then there are the aliens themselves. Obviously, you can't just plug the classic Invader models from the arcade game and put them into the screen, not at all lifted from any given military movie released between 1993 and 2004, despite how... You know, that actually probably looked pretty funny, so you gotta update them. What? Get some enemies which look kind of like they stick to the idea of the original inspiration for the aliens being sea life like crabs. But I don't know how common gun gremlins are in the mountains. Yeah, there isn't a lot of consistency between alien designs. At one point, the main enemy type is a group of plants. Is this in an area where there are a lot of plants, you ask? Why, yes, it is a four-way intersection. You may be thinking, all right, Poindexter, enough with the gimp-infected graphics, get to the gameplay. You're fine with yourself like that. Your controls are control stick to move, A to shoot, X to throw a screen clear grenade, Y to use a character-specific power, and the shoulder buttons for a quick dodge. Let's have a deep dive about how every single one of these inputs is bad. Control stick, leave the class, you didn't do anything wrong. So, shooting is fun. If you hold down the button, you get automatic fire, which beats mashing the button with your thumb, and I checked, it does make it come out faster, but I'm not wasting carpal tunnel on Space Raiders. So just hold down A to go through the entire alien horde, right? Well, tough turkey, cowboy! This little counter below your points total is a combo gauge. Manage to all your shots and not miss, and your regular weapon will be upgraded. The game is incredibly stingy on what counts as a hit, and won't take your buff away as soon as you miss. It makes you feel that shot disappears before it happens. Bosses will shots fly partly under their arm and ruin your strength, and you have to get precise shots. Grenade! It's screen clear! Make sure everything stays in check and you keep your nerves. So when it doesn't, play against the big guys. So you have a situational screen nuke that just like literally with your guard down when you realize it doesn't work. How about those special moves I mentioned earlier? Well, but it's different for every character. The other ones do, so we're left with Terry. Or lets you fire a bunch of disc shots that apparently do extra damage, but do you know what they don't do? Clear the screen, and they cost 2 grenades to use. So instead of using a baby pea shooter, you can just use grenades. But those don't always work, like I said, but at least when you aren't, you can just deal with a dodge roll, right? Well, the answer is yes. But how about that control stick, baby? You can move anywhere and everywhere. Not every game these days has that. Speaking of your gun, though, there are power-ups, most of which are callbacks to previous Space Invaders games. You have the classic health and fire speed up, but you can also have a lightning gun, after-image, invincibility. These all sound like fun to use, right? Surely you have to realize that at this point every good thing in this game is on a string, so they can blow it. This game works on a sort of weird round system where between waves you'll get a brief break. Oh, dang, Jesus, this game is way too overpowered for me. If you enter one of these brief breaks with power, they actually give you a nice little bonus. They take away that power and then spin your mouth. Can't have you having too much fun now, sport, if I make the neighbors mad. Well, tell me this. What's one thing that games like Radius, oh yeah, Space Invaders all kind of common? That's right, all the enemies die in one hit! I mean, if they did, that would make the game drag an insane amount and I'd pay playing it! Oh no. Yeah, in this game when you hit an enemy, they fall down like they just died before realizing they are being such a Capricorn right now, and they just get back up. There is nothing that kills momentum quite like watching an enemy die, get back up, die again, get back up again, and then die for real. The zombies are the worst for this, because not only do they die super slowly, they lose bits of themselves each time they pretend to be knocked down, and that just makes them move faster each time! And if they get directly next to you, the only way to hurt them is with the quick dodge, because for some reason, the quick dodge doubles as an attack! Sometimes. The more enemies introduced, the quicker the quality begins to degrade, too. First wave was inoffensive out of sheer boring charisma, but the very next enemy type, the gun gremlins, not only jump as soon as they fire, mean that you're gonna have to open your third eye to see where they're gonna end up, but trying to shoot them before they shoot you almost always ends up with you losing that showdown. These plant guys slip into more versions of themselves not dealt with quickly enough, which isn't bad, but anything that keeps you playing this game longer needs to die. These really tanky guys can be tricked into letting you shoot their shields in order to fill up a combo, as if that's worth anything. And little machine bones explode when they get shot. When I first found them, I thought I killed a bunch at once because the explosion is the loudest thing I've also allowed the honor of a few boss battles, all of which have their own unique flavor of bullet sponge. From the Persistent to Audrey 2.5, Slimy Lace the Fantastic,
Giant enemy crab.
and Scary Vader the Elevator. After seeing the ABC's Friday lineup, you might be thinking, boy, I'd sure like to go up and fight them again. Don't worry, your prayers have been answered.